Welcome back to The Breakdown. We got some exciting things coming up. First one is an interview with Garbutt and Rikke Asbojrn, the creators of Pinky Malinky, a show that's just come out on Netflix. But they're going to tell us about their 10-year journey from being in the UK, working on their first iteration of Pinky, all the way to when it's been released now on Netflix. Super interesting to chat with them. I kind of shot it last minute while I was in Los Angeles, but I think it's still cool, even though it's a bit kind of rough around the edges. So sorry about the quality of the video, but just listen to what they had to say. It's much more interesting. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Chris's reaction.
I told them, well, I told some people that worked on it that I'd do a board for free.
Are you serious?
But,
what the fuck is wrong with you?
You can introduce yourselves.
Go on.
Well, I'm Rikke Asbojrn, and I'm from Denmark. And I've worked in the animation business for 20 years, I think. What do you want to know?
Well, I worked with you a little bit too, didn't I, in London?
Commercials to start with, music videos, more commercials, development.
All kinds of stuff.
More development. Pinky. More Pinky.
More Pinky, even more Pinky.
Yeah.
Less Pinky, then a bit more Pinky.
Yeah.
So was there a specific angle that you got into animation?
Yeah, I started as an animator, I started as an assistant. And then I started animating after a few years, and
right.
Specifically Flash animation, because that was back when that became a thing. It's funny, trying to remember everything really quickly. It's like, wait, how did I start? Okay, now I get it.
Too old to remember.
When you're put on the spot, it's like, oh, wait. Yeah, so animation was where I started, but I always wanted to tell stories.
Right.
And that's how, the whole development and working on your own ideas and stuff like that. That all came from that. I guess way back when I always wanted to do comics until I found out how hard it was to make comics. And then I put that on hold for 20 years.
Yeah, because animation's so easy.
Well, no, but
yeah.
Everything's hard.
Yeah.
And how about you, Chris?
I'm Garbutt. I'm from England, and I mean, a similar thing to Rikke. I grew up drawing comics with my brother. We used to create our own characters, make our own comics, and that's all I wanted to do was to draw comics. But a similar thing where it's realizing in England the industry for comics wasn't that big. You wouldn't make a lot of money. They do take a hell of a long time to draw. So kind of drifted into the animation world after college and kind of never looked back since. Been doing it for 20 years. I guess I came from a comics and design background into animation, and then it developed into storyboarding and art direction and everything else, basically writing, all that kind of stuff, until we started developing our own things and got our own show, and now we're millionaires.
Yay! Are you still working as a duo, or are you working on individual things?
Duo. We're both working. Are we allowed to say where we're working at the moment? Yeah, we are. We're working at Netflix. We're just not allowed to say what we're working on.
Right.
Yeah, but we have our own thing that we're developing there.
Right.
Basically,
okay.
But we're not allowed to say what it is until it's announced.
Which is totally normal.
But yeah, I mean, we've been working as a partnership for
since 2006,
2008. There's sometime around there.
Yeah, I like that we can't even agree on the year, but somehow we can agree on the project.
It's basically been about 10 years we've been working together, and it works. So
yeah,
that's good. I think we
come from slightly different places in the animation world anyway, and we kind of complement each other.
Exactly.
But
Rikke's animation background fills holes in my expertise, and I guess it's the same with the design background that I come from. But then we come together when it's all that story, character, all the rest of it.
Yeah, we want to tell the same kind of stories, and we find it's the same the same things are important to us.
Yeah.
Because else it wouldn't have worked.
So, working together for 10 years, what keeps you going? What keeps it fresh? What keeps you motivated? What keeps the drive going? I mean...
Well, we talked about this recently, that we have a lot of things we want to make, and it already feels like there's never going to be enough time to make all of it.
Exactly.
So we're just going to have to try our hardest to make as much as we can.
Before we die.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Stories to tell.
Yeah, there's already too many things.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
yeah.
I mean, we're really lucky that we got a chance to make Pinky, but I mean, that's one thing.
But
there's
it
a list of so many other things, whether it's like a TV series, like children's books, features, whatever. We've got loads of different projects, which I mean...
that are all very different.
Yeah, very different.
For different audiences.
Realistically, not going to get to make them all, but you want to make as many as you can before
And
the inevitable death gets us all.
for people with your experience, do you still think it's hard to get a show made? Or do you think it's getting easier?
It's definitely not getting easier, but there's opportunity out there for creators. But that doesn't necessarily make it easier, just because the people need content. They want good content.
I mean, in a way, it's as hard as always.
Yeah,
because
totally.
there's more people realizing that they can have a show made. So that means that there are more people pitching.
Yeah, so there's more competition, which is good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I think there's definitely opportunities for different things to be made that might not have been made in the past. Because, yeah, the world is different now. And it's not just looking for one thing. So there's opportunities for things that are a bit weird or a bit random or didn't quite fit in the box.
More diverse content, which is great for everyone, I think. For consumers as well as creators.
But it still has to be a great idea.
Yeah, and it still has to have those core elements of great story, great characters, and people who know what they're doing when they make it as well.
Which is hard to find.
Yeah.
Oh my good lord. Action. So obviously, you guys came from Europe, and the beehive effect of LA brings everyone here. So, what would you say the biggest difference is between your experience in Europe and being in Los Angeles?
There's much more opportunity over here.
Yeah.
It's almost cliche, but it's just true.
But, I mean, the thing is, we were in Europe, I mean, we've been here almost 7 years now, and within those 7 years, like, things have changed, certainly up here in London, and I'm guessing the same in France as well, like, the opportunities, I think there's more of it because of, like, government subsidies and tax breaks and all that kind of thing is something that started to happen in England or in Britain, which we never had when we were there, so it feels, from afar, it looks like there's more opportunities than there used to be, but still, like LA, there's so many more studios. For us personally, the things that we do is more that kind of 6 to 11 kind of demographic TV series stuff, which there just wasn't really an industry for that in England. Obviously there was Gumball and there was some stuff happening in Paris as well, but over here there's so much more of stuff like that, and features is much bigger.
It's hard here, but it felt impossible in
Yeah.
London.
At the time, the strongest industries in London were like commercials and preschool.
And that's the thing, there is a big industry, but it's just...
Yeah.
That wasn't really what we wanted to...
No, it's not what we were focusing on.
Yeah.
I mean, London's great, but it's a different kind of thing, and I think this suits us more at the moment.
Yeah, I've heard that before about the industrial side of it as well. The fact that there is such a well-oiled infrastructure for making this kind of content as well in LA.
Yeah, that's something definitely, like when we were crewing up on Pinky, the talent pool is obviously much bigger.
When it comes to story and...
Story is the biggest thing, like storyboarding and writing and all that kind of stuff. The talent pool
you
is
can't
much bigger.
underestimate how much London has to offer either when it comes to different looks for commercials and things like that, because I really think they're far ahead with like interesting new ways of making things look, but unfortunately that's mostly in commercials still.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, I know from the art direction design side of it, that's definitely influenced me, is the experience that I had in London and seeing the different styles. And I hope with Pinky we've managed to kind of take some of that and bring something over here that feels a little fresher than the other shows that are around.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the same with Gumball as well. Like Ben obviously he was working at Studio AKA, he was working with amazing talented directors and designers. He's an amazing director and designer himself, and I think you can see the influence in Gumball, how it's so strong on that side of it as well as everything else, and it feels fresh and it feels a product of both London and his experience in France as well.
Chris, when I was in Paris on Robot Boy, and Ricky, you were still doing commercials, I think, in London, and then they opened the Cartoon Network Development Studio, then you both ended up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
hired you.
Yeah, because I was still working for
Because
Pasture.
I felt sorry for you.
Typical fucking man. Typical man. Typical man.
Yeah, do you remember whose show they picked up to develop? Yeah.
Was that yours?
Little Ricky.
It was yours, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Didn't it have something to do with your name?
Let's talk about it some more, Chris.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
no, but the point is that there was something really like interesting and some pretty special stuff came out of that development studio. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty special group of people.
Totally.
It was an amazing space.
Yeah.
It was actually some of my favorite years of working.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good time. Like, they managed to create a little creative bubble for us all to kind of develop ideas in a relatively safe environment.
Because one thing you mentioned earlier this evening was you touched on the idea of a safe place, right? And that's one of the big things for me about setting up my company was like, how do I create a safe place to be creative?
Yeah.
And it seems to me that that's what Netflix are trying to do right now.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. Like, they're very much giving people a space to develop their ideas naturally without too much kind
And
of...
be who they are.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
let
exactly.
Let the project be what they are.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
And obviously within a kind of professional manner. It's not just people can run off and do whatever the hell they want, but...
Of course.
Yeah. And the Cartoon Network, it was similar to that to begin with. And like, again, Charlie Bean, who was kind of acting creative head at one point, he kind of gathered us all together in a room for quite a few months to pitch our own ideas. And as the kind of days and weeks went along, we kind of focused and honed our ideas into specific pitches, and that's what Little Ricky came from. That's pretty much where Pinky came from as well. Gumball came from there. Like, lots of great stuff.
Yeah.
So was it healthy competition, or was there also a bit of like, you know, like how was it in terms of pressure to get your show over the line? Because obviously not every show can go ahead.
I think in the beginning it was very healthy because it was a very good work environment and we all got along. But then, of course, it comes down to the point where, okay, eventually we're in competition with each other, which is a shame.
That's it, when reality hit.
It's inevitable, but it's still, it definitely makes it hard because at the end of the day, some people are going to be upset. Well, most people are going to be upset because, I mean, also the promise of, to start with, lots of things will get made, and then, a few things will get made, and then one thing will get made.
Yeah.
I remember.
So,
Which was never the real intention with the studio to begin with.
Right.
But it was, a lot of that was to do with timing, like the fact that the
recession happening.
happened, and just the reality that Cartoon Network UK kind of also had to get funding from other places to help make things happen, and that wasn't always possible.
The months where we were all working together and helping each other out was actually almost the most fun.
It was great.
To touch all the projects and have something to do with, that was before reality hit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing that has changed from then to now is the fact that there are platforms like Netflix, Hulu, like Amazon Prime, everything like that, and whatever else is coming on the horizon, like Disney and everything. It's not about linear networks. It's about these streaming platforms where there's lots of content being put up there for people to watch in any manner they want. So it's put a different demand on content, it feels like, and the amount of content that is needed, the amount of space there is for new content is such a different world.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same thing that we were up against back then, because it wouldn't be a case of one thing will get picked, because that was just what it was like in the old days. But now it is, well, more things have to be made. It's
like they've hired some of the best people in the industry and asked them to make their dream project.
Which is
fantastic.
Really smart.
Yeah.
That's super smart.
Yeah, totally. It's great. And from what we've seen so far, like, the stuff that's coming down the pipe is so good. So
and
it's
very, very different.
Yeah, very different, which is what they want, a lot of very different things on there. I think that's probably one of the biggest differences in all the experience we've had in development in other studios. Is there's always been a house style, even if it wasn't like, even if you weren't forced necessarily to fit into that, it was underlying there, and you kind of had to tailor it towards that. Yeah, but with Netflix, it's nothing like that at all. It's about the project, the individual project being the best version of itself, as opposed to you need to fit this brand, if you like.
The one thing as well that I've seen in France in the last sort of, I guess, 12, 13 years is the impact that that you, Charlie, Dave, and the whole Robot Boy crew of season 1 had on the industry there, because those crews spread out through all the different productions, and it changed a little bit the way people worked, I guess.
Guess we made them speak English. No, but I mean, we had a fantastic crew on Robot Boy, and there's so many talented people and different kind of age ranges. It was interesting because there's people who've been working in the industry for a while there, as well as like new people coming through, and it was a really good mix of experience and kind of more green people. Not like aliens, but just hadn't had a lot of experience. But yeah, it's nice to hear that that's really kind of spread out into the industry as well. I would never want to claim that we did that, but it's nice of you to say that.
Yeah, well, I think it's like a natural influence on people that were looking for some kind of guidance as well at that time, right? So
yeah, and I mean, Charlie was obviously the biggest part of that. The experience that he brought from LA to Paris, and like me and Dave learnt so much from him, and I'm sure the crew as well.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even end up in France if it wasn't for Charlie, so he definitely had a big impact.
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean. Okay, cool. Well, I think we've asked 5 questions, so that's 5 questions in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
well done us. We did it.
You did great. So, just to end it then, where can people find you on the internet? Where's the best place to find you?
Instagram,
if they want to like all your stuff.
Yeah. Instagram.
Instagram for me, but it's only cat comics.
What's your Instagram handle?
Fatty Whale.
And mine's That Damn Garbutt.
Well, there we go. Fatty Whale and That Damn Garbutt. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Done.
Bye.
Goodbye.
We'll just swap hands.